Welcome back to Blacksheep Barbell Podcast. Today we have Nick O'Hare on the show. He is currently a competitor in World's Strongest Man, and he's also a coach.
Yeah, he's also the coach of Nevin Hughes that we had on episode 14.
Yeah.
So we get to talk today about some strongman, some of the training that Nick goes through. So it's going to be super cool.
Yeah, and his passion for it, too. He really explains, the mental side of things and how dedicated you have to be. Especially in a busy life, he still gets it done. Well, welcome to the show, Nick. Where are you at in Michigan?
Bad Axe? Well, currently I'm in Bad Axe, but I live in Harbor Beach.
Oh, okay.
Bad Axe? Where's that?
Wait, Bad Axe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we
That's funny.
Gotta do the Michigander, right? Right.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing, yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. There's
funny story. I was at America's Strongest Man, and we're on the podium, and one guy brought a Texas flag, and the other guy brought another flag, and I didn't have a flag, so I tried to put my hand up and make the Michigan.
Yeah.
But because it was in a camera, it was reversed, so it looked totally wrong. So I was like, everybody's like, "What the hell are you doing with your hands?" And I'm like, "Well, Michigan," but it was backwards because of the camera, and I didn't think about it because of the way it was. So
it was like
I
inverted.
was trying to flash
What
gang
is
sign,
that?
flash the Michigan gang sign.
Yeah, right. We were just down in Florida not too long ago, and we told somebody we're from Michigan, and they're like, "Where?"
Yeah.
So I guess it's a universally known thing.
Yeah.
How long you been training in strongman for?
Since 2017.
Gotcha. Okay. Were you doing anything different prior to that?
Oh yeah. I've been in individual sports for a long time. I was in CrossFit before that, and then I fought MMA before that, and then I played all the high school sports and all that stuff. I was a football player and played all the sports growing up as a kid, mostly baseball. But
is that when you got mostly into working out, throughout those sports, in high school?
Yeah, I started in high school and kind of just never stopped.
You did MMA prior to CrossFit, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. How did you get started with that? Where did you do that at?
Well, I never was a fighter, never really been in a fight most of my life. And one night after a few drinks, somebody said something to a friend of mine I didn't like, and I decided that I was going to take care of business. And needless to say, I got in a fight with a guy. I gave him some battle scars. He gave me some battle scars. At one point, he was on top of me, fully ready to punch my head into the cement.
Jeez.
And I said, "Go ahead and do it." And he punched me and broke my nose and all that stuff. And we got up, and we had mutual friends, so nobody was going to let anybody kill each other or anything like that. But after I healed up, I realized that didn't hurt that bad and I could take it. And I decided I had friends that were into it. And I'm like, well, that wasn't so bad. I can do this stuff. And I went and joined an MMA gym and started and kind of just kept working at it, and was always athletic and intense. Was never a wrestler, but had a wrestler's kind of mentality, just the intensity and the overwhelming and fast and things like that. So I just kind of started from there and one fight, got my first fight, and I went undefeated for a while, and I lost once. Got offered to go pro, and it was just at a point where the sport, if you're going to go pro, there's not a whole lot of money there unless you're on the top of the card, and the risk to reward wasn't worth it. And I had a young daughter at the time, so decided that wasn't what I wanted to continue doing forever. But
that's a hell of a way to get started in it, just getting in a fight.
Hey, I'm pretty good at this. Let's dive deeper into this.
Yeah, I just never knew. I didn't know what it felt like to get punched, and it didn't ever sound cool. But it never sounded cool when I joined the sport. So I just got really good at overwhelming people and usually ending most of the fights in a really fast time. So that was kind of my thing. I never really minded the engagement, just didn't really like getting punched in the face. So I just made sure they didn't have any opportunity to do so and took care of it. But
what was your record?
I was 6-1.
6-1.
Nice.
I talked to a lot of people recently that have been talking to me about trying to get into jiu-jitsu. Especially with my job right now. Jiu-jitsu and, just kind of rolling around. And I've always found it super interesting. I've never found it enough to be like, all right, let me try this out. I think maybe one day we'll see how it goes. And I was curious too. I wanted to ask you, were you training just as intense as you are right now as far as lifting, doing the MMA as well, or was it a totally different type of training style?
Oh, very intense. I had actually a very good group of coaches, and my coach was an Olympic, made it to the Olympics in boxing, and was a U.S. Marine champ, and actually got offered pro fights as a boxer. And he was very, very well known in the area, well known in the state. Won Golden Gloves many times. Coached guys that won Golden Gloves many times. Just a really good coach, the most calm, humble guy that you never wanted to get punched by ever in your life. Jim Smedley, and he had a friend of his that was a world level kickboxer, and he was one of our coaches as well. So I was coached by a boxer and a kickboxer, and then we had a local Brazilian Gracie Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym not far from us. So we kind of would collaborate with them, and I would roll with a lot of the guys over there and work with those guys. So I had my ground game pretty solid. I'd never been submitted ever before, so that was always a good thing for me. Again, never a wrestling background, but that mentality, and I have a very big engine. I got endurance for days, and that was always a strong suit of mine. So yeah, it just all my abilities that I didn't know I had as a fighter, what I had as other attributes were very conducive to me being a good fighter.
Gotcha.
So what transitioned you from doing MMA to going to CrossFit?
Just kind of looking for another outlet. I seem to have a tendency of doing something and like all out and taking it as far as I possibly can, and then eventually like, okay, let's try something different. And I get into that and I'm like, oh, this is fun. And I start doing that. And I just kind of take that absolute to its max and kind of keep doing that. So yeah, I got, we moved and was doing CrossFit at a gym just that we wanted to try out, and started doing that a little bit. And then we moved again and we had an opportunity at a CrossFit gym where they needed some trainers and they wanted somebody to run the gym. And yeah, they sent us out. We went to Florida, got our level ones in CrossFit, and
Nice.
became trainers. My wife and I, we ran a gym for a while
Wow.
while we were working another job and running or raising kids. So yeah, kind of went in that. Kind of almost made regionals once. Got fairly decent at it, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. That's a really fun modality of training.
Yeah.
I was very, very into it, the strength side of it. But again, back to the endurance side of things, it was really good for me. I was always I'm not tall or anything big, but I was a 190-pound guy most of my life, or 185 to 200-pound guy most of my life. So it fits that body profile pretty well.
Gotcha.
So
Well, it's definitely going to build up like your endurance, like you said, and how important that was, especially, getting into strongman and stuff. How does that compare to CrossFit for you? Mentally, how was that taking that
there's
on?
a lot of similarities. A ton of similarities, just in shorter ranges, right? So it's many modalities. You have to be proficient at a lot of different things, technical at a lot of different things, just at a higher intensity being the weight's higher, right? So, and then, you might be doing it for a shorter distance, but it's a much heavier weight. So movement, pressing, deadlifting, move, all those different movements are kind of incorporated there. I'm not doing handstand push-ups, but I'm pressing some stone over my head or an odd object over my head. So there's a lot of balance involved, and just core stability and different parts of the body that are necessary to be able to stabilize some of the implements and things we do in strongman, like you were in CrossFit, where you're doing handstand push-ups or handstand walks and different odd things upside down, or you're doing kipping pull-ups and all that stuff. So you're doing some sort of back motion, pulling motion. Well, you got to load a sandbag and then throw it over something. So it's just just different usage of the same muscle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. It'd be crazy to imagine a guy like Brian Shaw or Eddie Hall doing some handstand push-ups or handstand walks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the thing with CrossFit too. I give those guys a lot of credit as far as how well they are, developed and in shape to be able to lift as heavy as they do, and then their endurance tied along with that is just something that's super impressive. People always have the jokes within the fitness industry, CrossFit, all the gym bros. But it's like I give those guys a lot of credit to be able to move the weights they do and then move how they do, and their just level of endurance.
Yeah, their level of efficiency is second to none, really. I mean, to be able to do so many different things at a high level, like they could literally go and swim with some of the better athletes in the world. Obviously, they're not going to be an Olympic swimmer, but they're going to be with the best. They can jump on a bike. They can go Olympic lift. Tia Clara Toomey is a weightlifter for her country in the Olympics. I mean, she's done that kind of stuff. Like those guys are at a level that's not, I wouldn't say elite in each one of those, but across the board, they're just so well rounded. It's very, very impressive that they could do that at such a level and maintain all the endurance. Still go around, run a half a marathon and then turn it into, a Metcon. Well, they're doing a 235-pound snatch overhead to finish it off. It's just wild to think about.
Yeah, it's definitely a training style that gets you in phenomenal shape. I've seen. I keep up. Are you familiar with Nick Bear at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick Bear, I watch him, and he kind of reminds me of that, how he's just like well-rounded in so many different aspects, doing so many different things. Like this guy will compete in a bodybuilding show, and then, he'll go off and do an Ironman, and then his hybrid style training, it's just like crazy, but it keeps things exciting, right? Diving into all these different training styles and getting efficient at every one.
Absolutely. It's nice. A guy like him, I see as he shows what the body is capable of, and no, is there a capacity, or is it endless? Like it really is starting to seem that way as we evolve through time. Like what we thought was wild and never could be done, we're seeing as like almost like a norm on a high level group of athletes, like doing it daily almost. And it's just wild to see these guys. Like you said, the guy runs a mile, deadlifts 500 pounds, runs a mile, deadlift 500 pounds, and just keep doing it over and over.
Yeah.
The average person can't deadlift 500 pounds, let alone run a mile in the 6 minutes or less that he's doing it in. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the way he's even been able to like build his body like that, like with running that much, I don't understand it.
But it is good to have, people like that out there,
calories.
Like you said. Yeah, the calories. Yeah. But like you were just mentioning, to show people, what your body is capable of, to kind of push to those limits, to say, hey, there's endless opportunities. If this training style isn't really for you, there's so many other options.
Absolutely. And I like to think that I'm kind of one of those people too. I'm not young, but I'm not old. But I'm also kind of known for my longevity and being able to avoid injury and stay competing at a high level despite all my other stressors and things going on in life that I have. So I kind of take that personal, and being able to compete at a high level and staying injury free and doing it at a what is now master's age, but in open class. I feel pretty excited about that. And I think it should be eye-opening to some people. Like you're really capable of more than you think you are. And age is your age, but there's ways to adjust around it and still compete at a very high end if you choose to do so.
And that's so important to, make sure you're doing everything correctly, especially with strongman, because of how heavy that weight is. Like, I can't even imagine, like, you competed, you said, did you start competing in 2021? Is that when you started with World's Strongest Man?
No, I started, I competed in strongman the first week I tried it.
Really?
In 2017.
Man, you just say your mind to it and you're like, I'm going. That's it.
Jump right in.
Well, I was doing, are you guys familiar with Smolov?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've done it before.
The Smolov
I've
spot
done
program.
Smolov Junior.
Yeah. Yep. So I have a at-home CrossFit type setup, and I had some steel weights and different stuff like that. But I was in the process of doing a Smolov training session. And like I said, I talked to Ethan beforehand about a guy at work. He says, like, my brother-in-law does strongman and he lifts weights at his house. You guys both lift weights. You guys should just meet. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool, whatever. We were similar age. We knew mutual people. and everything like that. And yeah, I got a hold of the guy and showed up at his house, and he's got a log and Atlas stones and a yoke, and he's like, we're kind of messing around with some Atlas stones. I did some keg tosses with them and stuff like that. And he goes, dude, there's Motor City's strongest coming up. You should consider doing it. I'm like, well, when is it? He's like, well, it's next weekend. I'm like, I don't know if I can do any of that stuff. He's like, well, just come over and try. And so that week I went over to his house and I tried a few of the events, and I'm like, all right. He's like, dude, if seriously, in strongman, like if you zero an event, it's not that big of a deal. You can still, that's part of it because the weights are so heavy. Like that's not a big deal. If you do well at 4 or 5 of the events, you still can do fairly well. I'm like, well, that's not really my normal way of doing things, but it sounds interesting. So yeah, I signed up and I competed in the 198-pound open class, which is the same class I compete in now, ironically, but I didn't have to cut weight at that time. And I placed third in that class. And the two guys that beat me were, one of them being Jimmy Mitchell, is somebody I've competed against up to this time, and we've beat each other since then many times, and both competed at a high level, and we're both pro strongmen ourselves now. So it's just kind of cool to think about where I started from and where I'm at now. But kind of a funny story. If you guys know who Aaron West is?
No, I'm not familiar.
I don't think so.
Okay. Aaron West, the Michigan guy, he's known as the Noise of the North. He is actually the commentator speaker for at World's Strongest Man. He's from Michigan.
Well, I'm sure I've seen him.
If you listen to a World's Strongest Man and you're listening not to the guys on the TV itself, but like listening in the background, he's at the shows announcing. He announces at all the competitions, and he announces he had his own Michigan Strongest Man, and he announces at the Worlds I was just at here recently, and announces at Giants Live and everything. So he's on the mic at my first competition, and I'm running a sandbag down. We're in a school gymnasium, and I'm running a sandbag down this gym. I've never done this before, right? Pick it up. I'm running down the gym with it. And he goes, oh, there goes his hamstrings. And I'm like listening to this guy's talk, and I'm trying to run, and I'm like, what is he talking about? And it was just like I was walking downstairs. My legs just totally gave out from underneath me, and I collapsed to the ground while I'm trying to run this thing. And after the fact, I'm like, how did he know that? Like what? Well, obviously he'd been in the sport a long time.
Yeah.
So he knew exactly what was happening to me before I even realized what was happening to me. It was kind of funny.
What the heck?
Maybe just analyzing like the way your feet or your legs were moving, and he could just tell like, hey, this guy's legs are about to get out.
I probably leaned the way or whatever, you can see my legs getting soft. And he's like, oh, there goes his hamstrings. And I'm thinking, I'm good, dude. But I'm, I don't run 8 more feet. And then all of a sudden it looks like I'm going down the steps, and there's no steps, it's a flat gymnasium floor.
Yeah. So. That's crazy though, man. I give you a lot of credit for jumping into it like that. Like first week, you're like, all right, hey, this is the idea. I'm going to try this. And then, hey, let's compete. And that's awesome you did that, because I've talked to a lot of people, honestly, myself included. I've always trained like powerlifting style for a while. And a lot of people are like, oh, you should compete. You should compete. And I know a lot of other people have the similar mindset of you see your competition and you kind of get intimidated in a way. Right. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, there's these guys that are just like absolute freaks that are lifting, so much weight, and it kind of discourages people to get into that competition. But that's awesome that you did that, because really that's just a prime example of just like overcoming that fear. Like, hey, let's just do it. Let's send it and see how this goes, and I'll learn as I go through it.
Yeah. There's more to that than just that. That's to step in and do something that you're not used to doing in front of other people, and worrying about the getting embarrassed aspect of it and all that stuff. Fortunately, I had a good background and a good base in other sports, so it was just work for me. You know what I mean? Like I already had physical labor background, so a lot of that was good. But to your point about just not worrying about what other people think or what other people are doing, the more you compete with yourself, the better you're going to become. And when you realize that, you'll actually gain ground much faster than what you'd ever expect. You don't have to beat anybody else. You just got to beat the guy in the mirror, the person in the mirror, day after day, and just keep that mindset that if you can do that, you will head in the right direction. And everybody's so worried, and obviously with social media and all that stuff right now, everybody sees what other people are doing, and then obviously got all these influencers that are giving you all these fake feelings of what you should be doing and why they look that way and all that stuff. I'm telling you, if you just go beat yourself every day, you'll be beating most of those influencers and you'll have a better mindset and a better outcome than you could ever imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
definitely.
that's the biggest thing. And I know we talked about that earlier about that mindset. And that's something that you told me that's what it's all about, right? Just that mindset, putting your, all you have into it. Which really shows with you just like going to compete strongman the first week you started.
I think it's a learning process. Is especially a lot of younger individuals like now with, like you said, social media.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to get discouraged now, unfortunately, because you get these young kids that are seeing other people at they're already on chapter 20 while they're in their midst of chapter 1. And it's so easy for them to just want to take a step back and be like, I don't think I can get there, but it is true. It's your own process. It's your own journey. And at the end of the day, you're competing against yourself, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yep. And to that point, even more so, just to those people, and hopefully this podcast gets to some of those people. And it is your journey, and it's going to take time. And what I mean by that is nothing that comes fast is worthwhile. Consistency is king. You need to take the long road. These young people need to not quit chasing the fast gains, chasing the fast things, the PEDs, and all the other stuff that's out there. Just simply eat whole food, sleep well. Sleep is the most anabolic thing you can do in the whole entire world. It's more anabolic than any PED that could ever consider doing. And just trust the process. Get a program, whether you have a coach or you can't afford a coach. When you buy into a program, do all 12 weeks, do all 16 weeks, do all 8 weeks, whatever that program is. Finish it to its fullest because you don't have any data telling you otherwise that it's not going to work. Enjoy the process. The outcome will come. Don't worry about getting there so fast. These people just slow down a little bit. They'll get further ahead 100 times over. But every time rushing, you're getting sicker, you're getting injured, you're learning bad techniques, you're doing things that you have to go backwards in order to go back forward again. Just slow down. I'm 41
It's all
years
about
old.
patience.
I'm still not the strongest person. I'm still not the strongest version of myself yet. I'm still gaining strength. I'm still fast. I'm still explosive. I'm still doing more. And I'm 41. It's taken me that long to realize that I still have more. And I plan on chasing some world records. And I'm not even, I'm not young anymore, really. So,
yeah, you can always improve. I like to say all the time, you can never be satisfied. That's that mindset will always keep you pushing forward to do better because you can. It doesn't matter like your age and everything. Like if you really work towards it, and push, you'll do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've always been curious. I've always wanted to ask people too, is what is the reasoning behind wanting to rush the process? Obviously, they want that instant, satisfaction, right? The immediate, well, look, I got it already. But it's you're kind of losing that satisfaction of enjoying the process, right? The rewarding feeling of going through the struggle, right? Taking the time to stick with a workout program that's 12 weeks, 16 weeks. It's if you just want that instant satisfaction, it's you're losing out on realistically what is the most funnest and rewarding part, which is that grind, putting the hours in, putting the work in. And it's if you just get instant satisfaction, you're losing that. You're losing that middle ground where, you can look back and be like, I put all this work in, all this time in, and look where I am now.
Yeah, I think that's also where the passion comes into it too. There's a difference between people that are passionate about working out, people that I just want to look like this, and you got to have that passion, you got to have that lifestyle to enjoy it, and have patience.
100%, man. I agree with you guys on that. It's obviously the society we live in today is instant gratification. You know what I mean? People, instead of figuring out how to be healthy, the most healthy version of themselves, want to figure out how to make whatever's bothering them go away instantaneously. Well, I promise you, there is no medication or quick fix to make that go away. It's something that you did to your body over the course of time, or maybe you inherited, or whatever it may be, genetic or whatever. But there's ways to address things differently than whatever instant thing that you're going to do is going to benefit you. Because anything that comes at an instant has some sort of negative effect to it, right? Whether it's medication, whether it's taking something to make yourself super strong, or taking some sort of weight loss supplement like this big popular one you hear now. That's all going to come at a cost. Everything's going to come at a
Yeah.
cost. Yes, you're going to get that temporary gratification, but in the end, you're going to be a little bit disappointed that you just didn't man up and maybe say, well, I need to adjust my diet. Maybe I need to do some more exercise. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
I need to do whatever it is to get to that point. Maybe I didn't need to take those PEDs to get me to X point. And if I would have just taken an extra year of building myself up and growing, I would have been to that point, and I wouldn't have set myself back with all these injuries or have maybe a career ending injury, for heaven forbid. There's a lot of different things in life, not just in fitness, that affect us that way. And I think everybody just needs to kind of keep that in mind. And I hope that there's an epiphany, there's something that happens that just people start to realize that. And fortunately, I think we are at a time where there's some people that are. It's just a matter of time, before we start building on that. The whole old school eggs are bad for you. I mean, eggs are one of the most nutrient dense
I know. I
foods that
was
we can
talking about
have,
that.
and we're learning that now, right? But we thought for so long they
Yeah.
were bad, and there was one time where they advertised cigarettes and they were good for you, and we know that cigarettes
Yeah.
aren't good for you now. So it's like,
Yeah.
let's take Ozempic because it's really good for us
Yeah.
and it's doing this. But in 5 years, you're going to find out that here's all the negative side effects that come from it. And you know what I mean? It gave you that temporary gratification. That's good. But what cost did it come at? You know?
Yeah, that's what I've always tried to say is so many people don't realize how you can fix something without taking medication. You do not need to jump to that. It's usually something that you're doing to yourself. I mean, other than I don't know, like you could have something like you said, but I don't know, like I've talked about before, headaches.
The drink
Like
of being dehydrated.
you need to drink more water. Half of these people don't drink
Yeah.
enough water out here. Like
Yep.
you don't need to just take a pain medication every time you have a headache. Do something about it. You can drink water. You can do other things, natural stuff. I always think it's important to take those natural steps before just, taking some pill
Yeah.
that you have no idea.
And don't
you
get me
know?
wrong, there's always a point where somebody needs to do something. I get it. Like when you get to a point where you've exhausted all those options, but most people think they've exhausted
Yeah.
those options and they really haven't pushed any of them at all. They just want the quick
Right.
fix. But there's
Yeah, it shouldn't be
that
a
goes hand in
norm to
hand with
do
everything.
that. Yeah, and like I've always seen people say like, yeah, every day, every other day I got to take a pain medication for my headache. I'm like, do something about your headache. Like you're probably not
But then you'll ask them, how much water are you drinking on a daily basis?
I know.
They're like, oh, not much.
not much, just drinking some pop and,
Right. But what's ironic is 99% of the time, and again, goes back to like my coaching and things like that I try to figure out what's causing somebody an issue, whether it's an impingement or a muscle imbalance or whatever. But it's never and it's just the same thing with your body and health. It's usually never the acute thing. It's usually upstream or downstream from that's causing the problem.
Yeah.
So yes, I might have headaches and I might take Tylenol to fix my headache, but what's causing the headache? Like you said,
Exactly.
water, or is it just a nutrient deficiency? Are you light
Yeah.
on salt, or your magnesium's off, or your potassium's off? Is there something that I'm not proficient in? Well, now where does all this lead to? To me, it leads to blood work. Like people
Mhm.
need to be getting blood work done, whether you're any type of health that you should be monitoring that stuff. And sometimes in your basic blood work, it doesn't show you what exactly it is, and you need to get more elaborate blood work. But then trying to find
Mhm.
the right doctors and the right people to look into that stuff appropriately for you, it becomes another harder thing, and some people get lost in that. and
Yeah.
and I've had family members and stuff like that are fighting some sort of ailment that we can't quite figure out, but no doctor can figure it out. They just say, oh, your blood work looks good, you're fine, there's nothing we can do about it. Well, there's something going
Yeah.
on. It's just a matter of figuring it out. And so we continue to look upstream and downstream for these people that have these
Mhm.
one-off ailments that we don't know what's going on. But for people that don't have that, and it's just a more regular or easily addressable situation, usually you can look into that stuff pretty quickly and say, okay, I need to again drink more water. Pop has got caffeine in it. Caffeine's a um, naturally dehydrates you. I need to drink less pop. I need to
Mhm.
drink more water. Okay, I'm drinking enough water, but am I
Yeah.
getting enough magnesium or salt or whatever mineral that I might be deficient in? You know what I mean? So that might be a cause of it too.
And like, you know, a lot of people are deficient in a lot of things, vitamins and everything. People don't go outside much anymore. So,
Yeah.
um, just people can be surprised. Just even if you have to take a multivitamin, you know, nobody's really eating the right amount of food to get those vitamins. I think, you know, the normal population, but I mean, people will be surprised how much you feel better if you eat healthy food or you eat like have vitamins and everything. You don't need all these medications.
If I could make a blanket statement, if people really just focused on getting good quality sleep where they're sleeping in a dark room without
Mm-hmm.
all the distractions before they go to bed and all the blue light that they're taking in from their phones and all
Yeah.
the electronics and the LED lights and whatever, they take their sleep seriously and try to get the best sleep that they can within their allotted time. Obviously, some people it's going to be 4 hours or 5 hours or 6 hours, and some people may be able to do the 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But the best that you can, really focus on that. Get up in the morning, drink some water, probably put a little bit of salt in it because you literally fasted all night. And, most people have strokes in their sleep or heart attacks in their sleep because of
Mm-hmm.
dehydration or something like that that causes that often.
Yeah.
So drink some water. If you can go for a walk, go for a walk. Get out and get sun in your eyes. If you get sun in your
Mm-hmm.
eyes every day, treat your body so your body understands the algorithm that it's supposed to be in. Simple things, right? Walk, water, sleep, get some vitamin D, the sun if you can. If you can't, because we're where we live
Yeah.
at in the northern hemisphere here, it's tougher for us by the prime meridian. It's tough to get that much daylight. We might
Mm-hmm.
have to supplement with some vitamin D. If it's vitamin D, it's got to be vitamin D3 with K2. Buy the best you can
Yeah.
afford and do that day in and day out. And promise you, probably a large portion. I don't want to say a percentage because I don't know that percentage, but a large percentage of the problems that we have would start to diminish. Just doing those simple
Yep.
Yeah.
things that literally, what's that going to cost you? What did I say? Salt,
Exactly.
Nothing.
water, and
And
vitamin D3. So those three things maybe
yeah.
cost you, let's say on the high side of $30 a month, if you will, to be
Yeah.
healthier. Sleep doesn't cost you
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Yeah.
Shutting your phone off doesn't cost you anything. Drinking water doesn't
Yeah.
cost you much at all. You know,
Yeah.
those things right there will
Mm-hmm.
change your life if you can do that repeatedly. I promise. That's a blanket statement I'm willing to
Yeah.
make.
Sleep is like really important. It's something that I think me and Devin both struggle with getting enough sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
But you know, we were just talking to somebody in Florida. Remember, he said that you feel so much better, like naturally, like going outside in the morning, like barefoot, and just
Yeah.
like being in contact with the earth,
Yep.
which
Grounding.
it's hard up here
Grounding.
because it's cold. Um,
Yeah.
but like him even saying that and like how much he's felt better. He was like what in his 60s or
Yeah.
something like that,
Yep.
and just the way how fit he was amazing, and like just him telling us that, like, you know, drinking enough water, like almost the same conversation. But people will be surprised how much you can feel better just doing that stuff, getting natural vitamin D, drinking enough water, and getting enough sleep.
Well, you also look at it in comparison to, a lot of these things are obviously they're natural things, and most of these things are free. And you compare that to the price of constantly re-upping on medication, right? Getting prescriptions when,
Yeah.
like you were just mentioning earlier, they're not fixing the root problem. They're offering you that temporary relief, but we're not digging down to the root cause of why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. And when you look at
Yep.
all these things that are natural and free, sleep, going outside in the morning, getting some sunlight, going on a 10-minute walk, drinking some water. And it's like, like you were saying, if so many more people could do these things and they understand the benefits of them, how much change we could possibly see in everybody's health.
100%.
When you first started in strongman, did you have any difficulties finding a place to train?
Uh, so fortunately, back to the friend that I had that had the equipment. He had Atlas stones. He had a yoke. He had a log. Um, we had homemade sandbags. And then we had a school gym where we would go to the school gym and lift free weights when we needed to, or he had some free weights, I had some free weights, and it was just a combination of those different things. And then eventually, as I grew into the sport, there was things that I needed to get my hands on, and I couldn't find. So, I needed
Yeah.
the small kegs to throw. Well, I found, I'd find some on Craigslist, or I'd go to the local uh, party store and I'd see if I couldn't buy some from them or whatever, the
Yeah.
empties from them, and get some of those and add to those. I bought some I live in a rural area, so I would go to the grain elevator and ask for the big, heaviest sack that they had, and I'd fill them with sand and make them to 200 and some odd pounds. I'd triple bag them and tape them up as best I could. They rip your arms to shreds because of the material
Yeah.
that they are, but it was as close as I could get. Um, I'm a skilled trades millwright by trade, so there's things I can fabricate myself. So there was times where I was
Oh, awesome.
making some pieces, building something at some time or of some sort to make my own implements when I could. Um,
Yeah.
and then as the sport grew around the area and we had some other more local comps, other people would get stuff. So my whole, I train completely out of my own garage by myself. I train alone 100% of the time. Like I got my kids that come train with me. I have a friend that'll meet me sometimes here and there, but I shouldn't say 100%, but I would say 98% of the time is all training by myself.
Yeah.
So and that's a whole nother story. And that's a tough thing to do because most people don't have that type of drive to do that consistently by themselves.
Yeah.
It's tough if you're not self motivated. There's competitions that would have implements involved in it that I didn't have. So I'd call up my buddies and say, "Hey, are you using this? Nope. Can I borrow it for 8 weeks while I prep for this competition? Yep. Hey, and they'd ask me, "Do you have something I could use this?" And yeah, I'm not using it. Go ahead. And we just kind of like loan each other equipment and I'd go that route. And the other things that I didn't have, I just simulate to the best of my ability, and get as strong as I could, as close as I could to it. And when I got to the comp, I'd have to take a little bit of time to learn the implement, and then I just go from there. And that's kind of like it makes it tough, but it also makes it fun because you got to get creative. You got to do things outside your comfort zone. You got to just get generally strong, and that's all strongman is just being generally strong across a whole bunch of different modalities. And that's what's kind of kept it so attractive to me, and why I keep finding myself enjoying it more and more because I can just always find a way to be creative enough to find a way to train similarly enough to the event that I got to compete in.
How's your garage gym holding up right now in this weather? Do you have like a heating system at all in there?
Yep, I got a heater on the wall. But when you first asked me that, before you said the heating thing, my first thought is I got to replace some of the concrete floor because I've broken the floor in multiple spots with heavy deadlifts and dropping weights from overheads and stuff like that. Yeah, my
Yeah.
my wife's not real thrilled that I got a couple of soft spots in the floor where I broke the concrete completely out of my garage floor. So yeah, that's a that's a that's going to happen. I'll tell you that. Unfortunately, that's probably
Yeah,
going to happen
definitely.
unless
We were
you
nervous about that.
really spend a lot of money on concrete and you really have an expensive flooring system.
Yeah, I train out of my garage gym as well. And I've been using it for the past few years, which I need to upgrade it, but I just have a couple little plug-in like space heaters. That's it.
Yeah.
I'll go out there probably like 30 minutes before my training session. I'll plug them up. I'll start heating up the barbell I'm going to use and some of the plates and dumbbells and let it warm up a little bit and I'll go out there and train. But that also reminded me when you were saying training by yourself for the most part. That's how it is with me and a lot of my buddies are like, man, it's too cold out here. It's too cold to be training out here. I'm like, hey, you got to get it done. You have to do it.
Yeah, you'll either find a way or you'll find an excuse. I've trained on many cold barbells. My hands have hurt when I was done. I've had to do a lot of stuff in the cold. I Worlds is in December, and obviously November isn't the worst, as bad as December and January can be, but trying to train those events while it's downpouring, it's freezing rain, and I got to throw sandbags through the air that I don't want to get wet, and I got to run this stuff in open space. I use my driveway. I got to run a yoke. It is what it is. I just got to go out there and train it. And I put stuff on that I don't normally wear in a competition, and I just got to man up and go do it, or the stuff's not going to get done. I try to put an extra layer on and just warm up the best that I can. I hurry up and open the door, go out, take all my stuff out as fast as I can, and close the door, and then I can come back in and warm up when it's done. Um, it's just anything like anything else in life. You'll either find a way or you'll find an excuse, and you gotta
Yeah,
Right.
you just gotta do what you gotta do.
it's about that discipline.
Maybe my garage gym makes me a better athlete than some because when you do strongman, if you've ever done anything to do with strongman, the setup and teardown time especially if you're doing it by yourself and at a home gym, takes a lot of time. So let me say, I'm going to go do sandbag toss. Okay, so get all the stuff out, set the yoke up, get all the bags out, throw the sandbags. Okay, put that all away. Now I'm going to go do deadlifts. So I get all the weights out. I start doing my deadlifts. Now I got to go back outside. I got to run the yoke. Now I got to set the yoke back up, take all the weights outside, load the yoke, build up in weight, run that for 3 sets. Okay, now I got to unload the yoke, bring all the weights back inside. Okay, now I got to do my next accessory or my next lift. So I'm moving all those weights back and forth by myself in between doing all the lifting that I'm doing as well. So the tonnage that I move in a day of like an event training day is significant. I wouldn't even know. It would be funny to add up one day, but is significant.
Even just, downloading a deadlift bar alone sometimes is annoying,
Right.
So I couldn't imagine, doing all that.
I do it all the time. Yep. And I'm old school too. I don't use a lifter, a deadlift jack.
Oh, you
or
don't
anything
use
like
a
that.
deadlift jack?
Oh god.
Nope. I load the bar right off the ground and I just do it every time. I mean, sometimes I'll roll a 2.5 under it if I need to. When I got 8+ plates on there or whatever on the side, I might have to do that, just to give myself a little bit of, because I can't just lift up 6 or 7 plates on one side to slam that next plate on.
Piggybacking off of like when I was mentioned, was it difficult for you to find any strongman gyms in the area? The biggest reason why is I feel like maybe just in our area where we are, I don't know about you, but I found a lot of difficulties with finding a lot of gyms that are kind of like powerlifting and strongman tailored in Michigan, at least near us. So right around us, you look up gyms, you got a lot of Crunches, Planet Fitness, LA Fitness.
Yeah.
And then you have a couple of your, powerlifting stuff. I don't think I've seen a strongman one near us. But you have some of your, grungier style, powerlifting style gyms in the area. They're sprinkled here and there. And over the weekend, I went to Columbus. I went to the Rogue store. And I don't know what it is with Ohio, but I looked up gyms, right near the Rogue store. And I mean, I'm getting like 15 different gyms that are strongman gyms, powerlifting gyms, all within 10 minutes. And I'm like, what is going on with Michigan?
And plus, like, like West Side and everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Columbus, I mean, don't use Columbus as your gauge, because that's the Mecca, right? That's, like you said, West Side. That's where powerlifting is like, it almost feels like it originated. Like that's where home base is. So Columbus is a tough one to compare to. Because there is so many different places there. That's kind of where it all started from, in a lot of different places. And it's such a fitting place for Rogue to be, which is a cool facility there too. But I mean, as cool as Rogue is, there's so many awesome gyms in that area that you can just stay. And there's so many famous lifters or world record holders or whatever that have come from that area or trained out of that area for many years. It's just wild. So that's a tough one. But I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know that Detroit Muscles right in that area of I think they might be a little bit north, a little bit west, and a little bit north yet. But Rochester Performance Gym is down there, down that way. You ever been there? That's probably a little bit north yet too, right?
No.
Is that
Rochester?
Yeah? I've seen. Is that one a little bit more strongman? They have strongman stuff there.
No. Well, Ben Pauly's a very power lifter. Like he's kind of an infamous power lifter. He's pretty well known. Probably one of the. He's been on Dave Tate. He's been on a bunch of different stuff. He's been intense. Very, very good coach. Very good powerlifting coach. And they run a ton of powerlifting meets out of there, out of RPG. And then they have a strongman group as well. There's a group of strongman in there. They have most of the implements there that you could train for strongman. But I would say that they're mostly a powerlifting gym that has strongman in it as well.
Detroit Muscle Gym is in Plymouth.
Detroit Muscle is a good one. They have they're probably the biggest strongman gym in the whole Midwest. They have everything. But they also have everything a powerlifter could want, from platforms and calibrated plates to monos and all that stuff as well. So
it was just shocking to see, It was just shocking to see being down there in Ohio and seeing the variety.
Oh yeah.
A lot of gyms down there seem to have recovery stations connected with them as well. We went to
Right.
one called the Armory. It was probably like 8 minutes from the Rogue headquarters, and they had, where they have the freeze like compression sleeves for recovery.
Yep.
And it
Yep.
was just like a whole medical station connected to the gym, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like just seeing that
Yep.
was crazy because it's hard to find around here.
Yeah, they'll have a cryo,
But yeah,
they'll
like you
have
were
a
saying,
floating spa, they'll have the compression sleeves, they'll have probably some sort of acupuncture person in there, they'll have a massage therapist in there, they'll have every the all the what do I want to call it? The heavy weights that you roll on yourself. I can't think of the name of it right now. The To help with
oh, I
recovery.
know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Donnie Thompson stuff.
Hmm.
You know who Donnie Thompson is, but yeah, a lot of that stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of those places, and they're in Michigan too. They're just kind of fewer and far in between, and some of them are more specific to just that. Like it might be not connected to the gym; it might be its own facility, down the road or
Yeah.
something like that. I've been to a few places like that. My friend Tim Sala had a place like that in Saginaw, right next to Coop's gym.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But as far as like if you're looking for strongman stuff, my suggestion is buy a piece, have your buddy buy a different piece, have somebody else buy a different piece, and then if you can find a gym that's willing to like have an area like a turf area or whatever, and they'll let you store some stuff there. Understand that it might get used by other people or whatever, but it's a common place where you guys can go lift, and then maybe you can talk the gym into
Mm-hmm.
buying a piece or like a yoke or something like that that's bigger that or farmers carries, something that's conducive to the rest of the facility. Um, that's kind of a good way to build your own little group or area or whatever to get
Yeah.
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, and I was talking to a gym owner over in Battle Creek, Michigan. His name's Ben
Yep.
Yarger. He owns a gym called Northside. I told you about it, Devin. He told me the same thing because his gym, he does have some strongman stuff because that's what he does. And he told me, just you have to find them. Like sometimes they're hard to find, but usually like Facebook Marketplace, it's good to buy them. You can find them
Yep.
for a cheap price, and you never want to buy anything new. That was like his advice to me. He's like, you can always find
Yeah.
a good deal on something, and usually older stuff
Yep.
is actually better than the new stuff that comes out.
Yeah. A lot of guys, a lot of people will buy stuff off Titan because it's inexpensive and they have some good stuff. I've had a few Titan things myself and have had good luck with some of it. But some of it's not so good. And like you said, if you can find some used stuff, that's always nice. Um, most
Mm-hmm.
people in the strongman world are looking at that stuff really quick. So if it's any good, they're picking it up pretty fast because everybody wants their own little spot at their house or whatever, wherever they need it
Yeah,
for.
especially in 2020, that was hard.
I have a guy local to me and a dear friend of mine, and we both run competitions. He actually fabricates a lot of equipment himself, so we kind of collaborate on a few things.
Wow.
And hey, build it like this or try this out because I got a fabricating background myself as well. So
Mm.
we'll we built stuff. He's built finger fingers and yokes and car deadlift apparatuses, and he's got all sorts of different stuff. We've built specialty bars that like nobody else has had, like tiered load over bar where it's three different heights. I used at my competition last year. We built the big bar to throw over kegs over, and wide with yokes for stands, but the long crossbar. Just every little piece we've kind of built our own. He builds logs and monster circus dumbbells and stuff like that as well. So he will fabricate it if you really want it. If you don't mind spending the money and you want a piece, he'll make you one. He'll just tell you whatever the cost of the
That's
material is
awesome.
Wow.
plus some labor, and he'll build it.
That's awesome, man. That's some good skills to have, right? Especially if you're
Yep.
into it.
Yep.
I always hear about how important it is to have like know a welder. I know
Yeah.
somebody said that we talked to recently, but just have a welder, especially if you own a gym.
Yep.
Somebody that can modify some equipment for you, just make equipment for you.
Yeah. That was Tina over at Raise
It
the
was
Bar.
Tino. It was Tina.
A lot of the equipment you buy needs to be fortified anyway, because if you're going to use it in a gym where there's going to be multiple people using it, it's going to end up getting broken or cracked or something's going to happen. So just fortifying it a little bit extra, or welding it better than what some of these the cheap welds that some of the stuff comes with is always a good thing. It's a good skill set or a good idea to have a friend that has that skill set nearby because it'll be conducive to you.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar if you or you have heard of Raise the Bar Gym. It's down there in Lincoln Park. We had
I've
the
heard the
owner
name.
on. Yeah, we had the owner on, and he knew a welder, and
Yeah.
he was mentioning to us the benefit of having him come in and kind of fixing some things up if they break down from being overused, or even adjusting things.
Yep.
Kind of
Yep.
putting some new features on, something that he would like to have, like a new angle or some handles, and just having the
Yep.
guy weld them on. It was super interesting to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Like I
And
said for
he.
strongman, it's like, hey, I need this piece. Okay, well, can I get the pieces? All right, I can weld that up, and I just get the
Mm-hmm.
pieces, and I make it myself. If I can, I do it, and if I like I said, if I can, I'll have my buddy do it or whatever, and just making stuff when it's that easy to do, it's a nice option to have for sure. Nice. We were at a gym in Vegas, forget the name of it now. Dang, I wish I remember the name of it because it was like infamous gym in Vegas, and it was like the original one. And like they're like, oh, this is where all these guys came from, and they had all the old. They had like an area in there, and you felt like you were in the '70s because it was designed like that still, but like had a bunch of new
Oh
equipment on
wow,
one side, but all the old Nautilus
the
equipment
old
on the other
stuff.
side where you could still use it, and
Oh
it was
wow.
kind of funny because it was like and people would come in there like, yeah, you so and so used to lift here, and this bodybuilder was here, and this bodybuilder was here because the Olympia for America's Strongest Man was in Vegas. So we were looking for a
Hmm.
sauna, and we went to the gym, and that's where we ended up. Is this gym that was from the '70s that was like, I guess it's super well known. I can't even remember the name of it right now, but it was kind of funny. And everybody's telling us all the old. And there's pictures of all these old bodybuilders up on the wall that used to lift there, and all that stuff. It was pretty cool.
Do you like that older style a little bit better, or do you like modern?
Um, I like both. I like the dungy style. Like even my circle back to MMA. Like we just had a rink or a ring, and we had bags and stuff like that. It was kind of a little bit gritty, and I've
Hmm.
always had an appreciation for that because I feel like those people that go to that type of place are there for a purpose. You know what I mean? My kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take an example. My kids. We play house hockey and then we play tournament team hockey. The house hockey kids are there to be involved in a sport and do something active, and their parents want them to do something right. But we go to tournament team hockey; those kids are there because they want to be there and they want to put in the extra effort. It's the same thing. You go to
Yeah.
that fancy gym, and there's a bunch of people there that want to get fit, and trust me, I totally condone that, and I'm not putting anybody down by any means. So I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. But you go to that
Mm-hmm.
little bit older gym, that little bit grittier gym that has nice equipment still, has some of the modern amenities in it, but has that old school vibe. They're there to do work. They're there for a purpose. They're there to put in the extra effort. There's no bullshit. There's no crap. They're just come in, get your stuff done, and make it happen. I want to be a better version of myself. And they have a goal, like a true goal to be a better version of themselves, not just to be fitter or just go in to put some work in or burn some calories or something like that. There's more to it than that. The passion is different.
I feel like I feel like those older styles kind of, they bring a little bit more out of you. I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes when you see the super clean gym, super modern, it's like you kind of feel like you're being held back a little bit. Like you got to, like, all this equipment is super nice. I got to be careful. I don't want
Yeah.
to throw this on the ground. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I always say like respect the equipment regardless of where you're at. I mean, at home, I don't want you coming over to my house. I got bumper plates. Doesn't mean I want you ghosting the bar down to the ground because my needle bearing bar isn't going to like that so much. Not that it can't handle it, but it's my bar and I don't want you to mess it up. And I don't really have the money to go be buying a new one. So I kind of take that
Yeah.
mindset even when I go into a gym. Like, yeah, well, it's cool that the bodybuilder just ghosted some 200 pounders to the ground, but I'm not going to do that to your stuff because I just don't feel like that's respectful to the owner or anybody. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to do my best to set them down. Maybe I drop them from, a foot off the ground, but I'm not going to drop them from the top. You know what I mean? Because if I snap a
Mm-hmm.
dumbbell end off a 200 pounder, I'm going to be an asshole and it's going to cost somebody a lot of money. And I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, you definitely look at it a lot different too when you do have your own setup, your own equipment you've invested money in, right? It's like your little
Oh, yeah.
kids, You're like your little area, you're out there cleaning stuff, rearranging stuff. Do you have any advice for anybody out there that is potentially interested in starting in strongman? Any guidance for how to start? things you should be on the lookout for, and kind of be careful of, just any words of wisdom with somebody that's looking to train in the strongman style.
Yeah, I got a few. Couple things. Just do it. Just do it. Just start. There isn't anything that should hold you back. You're always the goal is to be as strong as you can be, but there's always potentially going to be somebody stronger or somebody that's going to be better at one event than you're at or whatever. That doesn't matter. Don't let other people, like we talked about in the beginning of the show, just go in and beat yourself. Go in and try to be a better version of yourself and have fun. The community of strongman is probably the coolest community that you're ever going to be around. It's different than a powerlifting mentality, and no shade to my powerlifting friends, but it's not as vibrant. It's not as exciting. Everybody's not as excited to see you do well as people in strongman are. It's not the same as CrossFit where you drink the Kool-Aid and all that stuff, and you got it. You're in that, like as they call it, the cult thing. I've been a CrossFitter, so I can say this. I feel like I have that right. I love the CrossFit community, and I love the people that were involved in the CrossFit community. It's still a different vibe. So
Mm-hmm.
go and have fun. Just do it. Know that it's okay to zero. That's another point. You don't like people want to enter a competition. Well, they might have a good background in CrossFit and they got some good weightlifting and stuff like that. They want to give it a shot. Well, I can't overhead press that amount, but I can do the other 4 events. That's absolutely fine. You don't have to. You can even zero 2 events. You're there to learn. You're there to have fun. You're there to be a part of a community. Go and do it. The thing with strongman that this leads me to is everybody there wants to see you succeed and nobody cares. Not one person cares if you don't. And that's what's so interesting. I can tell you, I compete in the hardest class in all of weight class strongman in the 90 kilo class. If I break a strap in the middle of my event, I can tell you right now, I can probably 5 or 6 guys are going to run out on the floor and throw me their straps so that I can beat them in that event because they all want to see you do your best. That's how we are.
Right.
That's how competitive we are, but that's how much camaraderie we have for each other. It's just fun. Enjoy it, embrace it. There are hard things. You're going to zero. You're not going to be successful all the time, and that's okay. Just like life, that's okay. Come back, get a little stronger, do a little bit better, and each time learn a little bit more. You learn a lot of stuff from a competition. The other thing I would like to say is there's weight classes in strongman. There's novice divisions in strongman. There's masters divisions in strongman. There's women's and men's and different, things going on. Don't fixate on any of that. Enter the class that you feel like you need to be in and go do it. Doesn't matter what happens. If you need to be a novice and let's say novice is 220, men's is 220 pounds and under and 220 pounds and over, right? A lightweight and a heavyweight class. It's not broken down as many as the open classes. If you weigh 225 pounds, don't cut weight to get in the 220 class. Just go do the other class. It's going to be heavier. You might zero. It's okay. Don't worry about weight cuts. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just go do it. If you weigh 18 pounds and you want to do the 220 class, that's fine. But if you're strong enough to go bigger, don't do the 218-pound class just to do that. Go push yourself. Strongman is about pushing yourself and making yourself stronger and better. Don't be afraid. Another thing, injury. People worry about hurting themselves in strongman. There are so few injuries in strongman that it's not even funny. Does it happen? Yes. Does it happen in CrossFit? Yes. Does it happen in bodybuilding? Guess what? Men's softball is the most injury prone sport there is. But people don't have a problem going and doing that. If you have good technique and you try to do things properly in your fight or flight responses in any sort of condition, trust me, if you lift something and it goes over your head, you're not going to land. It's not going to land on top of you. Does it happen? Has it happened? Absolutely. But the likelihood of it is literally almost zero. It's that low of a percentage. So just go and have fun, enjoy it, embrace the community. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to find that you like it, and you're going to wish that you had done it sooner.
Before we head out, I wanted to give you a chance to plug your stuff, your Instagram.
I actually happen to be wearing my shirt tonight. That's my NLSP, no luck, strength, and performance. It's no luck because my initials are NO, and that works for no, right? Nick O'Hare.
Yeah.
So that's, you can, I guess you can see it a little bit lower there. But no, I'm coaching. I enjoy coaching a lot. I've been around a lot of different modalities, as we've kind of spoke about across the podcast. So my background in strength and fitness is very deep, along with sports specific stuff. I've coached all my kids in a bunch of different sports, and I've played a bunch of different sports, and just passionate in that realm in general of finding better ways and finding even just ways for my kids to be better athletes in different sports, to be the best track athlete they can, to become a better football player, and so on and so forth. So I'm always looking to learn and always wanting to do more. I like to pass that along to my clients uh, in training. So if anybody is interested, I would love to for you to reach out, and we can see if we're a good fit. There is nothing that says we have to do it. If you don't feel I'm the right fit for you, or I don't feel I'm the right fit for you, I wouldn't want us to have to work with each other in that regard, because I do believe that there are perfect matches when it comes to that stuff. Anybody wants to reach out to me, they can reach out to me on Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger, O'Hare Nick Strongman, or just Nick O'Hare. Uh, Keep it simple on that stuff. But yeah, I have a lot of knowledge in a lot of modalities. I do have my um, personal trainer certificate. Just to have my personal trainer certificate, I think there's way
Mm,
more important types of things and things to have than just that, to say that you're a good personal trainer. But my
yeah.
experience and my ability to coach, I think, is pretty decent. So I'd love to help
Hmm.
anybody out that might be interested.
Yeah, because you,
Awesome.
you said you coached your kids too, right, for sports?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
four kids, three boys that are that are all sport athletes currently. Um, and yeah, we're deep into hockey season. I got three boys in three different age groups of hockey, and I coach three of the four different groups that we're in right now. So yeah, no, it's but football, baseball. I help my wife with soccer, and I help a lot with track as well. So, but have done sport specific training for clients and for teams and groups um, as well. So yeah, I just enjoy performance. I always joke that I should have been a chiropractor or a kinesiologist or a
Hmm.
PT or something like that, because that's kind of where my passion is and what I love to do. Um, but just also like to be see what I create at the end of the day. So I do enjoy my skilled trades and building stuff and kind of keep America going type thing too. So
Yeah,
Awesome, man.
and you told me earlier too. You were like, you are a busy guy, like coaching your kids and competing and everything. Like you were saying, like it's bullshit when people say they don't have time to get it in, and you're a living example of that.
yeah, we did talk about that, and I do I do feel like I am an example of that. I work full time. My wife works full time. We both find time to train. We both find time to eat healthy and make good food for our family and for ourselves. We all like to enjoy ourselves and have good extracurricular meals here and there. But I we coach or are a part of most of our kids' sports in some way, whether it be on a board or just coaching or just being at every game we can go to. We spend many weekends in hockey. If anybody's familiar, my kids play all over the state, and we're going international here in a few weeks to Canada and whatnot. We drive all over for 15 minutes of hockey. And I'll tell you what, people say, well, how can you do that? How does that create that time? You know what? That 15 minutes while we're at a game makes all of it worthwhile. And it's such
Hmm.
a good experience. And it's such good core memories that we're building with our family and our life. Um, I just really can't say enough about it. With that being said, I am competing at the highest level of strongman. I'm a professional strongman. I compete. I've competed in different countries and all over the United States. I'm ranked in the world as a strongman, and I do all of those other things while doing that. So if anybody
Hmm.
has any reasons why they can't do it, feel free to reach out. I will help you. We'll find a way to find some time. And I'm sure there's some doom scrolling or some binge TV watching or something that you're doing that's not conducive to yourself being the healthiest version of yourself.
Probably some TikTok scrolling on there. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Too much phone in the gym.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, man. You're inspiring, and just to see your passion, how passionate you are about lifting, it is inspiring, and hopefully it inspires other people to try harder and to start.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope they do it. I'd love to be inspiring of some sort, and I've had a few people that said that that's the case, and it's a truly humbling experience because I never think about it until somebody says it, and and it does make you feel better about the way you do things. It does make it even feel a little bit more worthwhile and everything too. So I do enjoy that. So
awesome, man. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. It's fine.
This one's kicking a little bit. This one's kicking.
I tried it. Did you not?
You got to do it like right when it opens.
They're not kicking, dude.
This one fucking works.
All right, you're posting this. This is going in the podcast, okay?
You got to get right up in it.
Give me the lid for it.
I'm not faking it. I swear to God.
Ethan just has a weak tolerance.
Yeah.
I'll shake it up.
Yeah, right when you open it. Right when you open it. Why is it all the way down here? You gotta get in there.
I can't get any closer.
All right, it's fine.
It's fine. It doesn't affect me. It affects Ethan. He's weak.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Nick, you were awesome to talk to. It was like really cool to see, you went from MMA to CrossFit to strongman and competing in World's Strongest Man. That's insane. So yeah, thank you for coming on the show. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yep. Super exciting talking about strongman too. I find it super interesting. And, you offered some great information for people that are potentially looking to get into strongman. So thanks, man.
Yeah. All right. Peace out, guys.